In this video, I'm going to talk about how I turned to social media to try and find some comfort and ask and answer some questions that I had after losing my son, but how that maybe turned more into doom scrolling. Hello, my name is Ghazala at the Heart and Soul Cafe. If you've been here before, thank you for coming back. I so appreciate it. If you're here for the first time, pull up a chair, kick off your shoes and get yourself a coffee and let's have a chat. Quite a lot of you probably already know that I very sadly, very tragically lost my son 4 years ago in 2021, April. And what I'm going to share with you is quite difficult to explain, but I'm going to try and do my best. I had questions in my head, and this is putting religious beliefs or anything religious and spiritual, I think, to one side. That doesn't mean to say I am not thinking that it's important, because it is, but I'm just making this particular point here. I was trying to find out, if you like, what my son experienced and how it felt at the moment, at the time of passing from life to death. And that's what I wanted to know. What did he experience? What did it feel like? And it was so difficult because, and as I say, it's not from a religious point of view or even a spiritual point of view that I was actually after this particular question, although, you know, I did research that as well. So I was thinking, what did he feel? What did he think? How did it feel? And so I turned to social media. I turned to, how does it feel? You know, please someone explain it to me. And I came across some videos on YouTube about near-death experiences. And I found myself getting quite engrossed in some of these stories and in some of the testimonies that people were sharing. And to be honest, and to, you know, I found them a little bit, I found them generally quite comforting, because a lot of them said the same kind of thing, and they were saying things like, you know, they had this near-death experience, they'd flatlined for whatever reason, heart problem or whatever, going into cardiac arrest, and that's how my son passed, you know, as a result of cardiac arrest. And they talked about, you know, the soul leaving the body, and the soul sort of hovering over the body and being able to see what was going on. And it might be that they were in a hospital and they could see medical staff running around and doing what they were doing, and they had the ability to hear what was being said, you know, down the corridor, what their loved ones were maybe saying or thinking, and this kind of experience. Now, that brought me a level of comfort, because they also shared that they felt an overwhelming love and warmth and acceptance, and it was more than any kind of love that they've experienced here on earth, and no pain, no feeling of like regret or all the things like guilt that this world gives us. There was none of that. And so I found myself, looking and searching, and story after story after story after story, and just receiving some sort of level of comfort that all these people are sort of saying the same thing, and surely there must be some truth in it, and if there is, then that's maybe what my son experienced, and that gave me some level of peace. But then as I went on and on and on, what started happening is, and you know what happens in YouTube, when if you go searching for something and then you've teased the algorithm, haven't you? And more feed and more these stories keep coming in, and you just go sort of into a bit of down a rabbit hole, really, and you just looking and looking and looking and carrying on, and the algorithm's feeding it and feeding it and feeding it, because that's what you're feeding off at that time. As I said, but there was a negative side to this, and although it gave me temporary, some comfort and some peace in my head and what was going on in my head at that time, what it turned to was the feeds, these near-death experience stories. Some of them weren't so positive. Some of them were frightening, and some of them were the complete opposite to what I had been listening to. And I thought, whoa, well, hang on a minute, what's happening here? I'm not going to be able to digest this. I'm not going to be able to stomach this. This is going to almost erase everything that all the positive videos were giving me, and so I stopped. I thought, this is dangerous. And later I sort of analysed what, because I was in such a vulnerable place. I would have probably gone anywhere, done anything to sort of get some kind of comfort and get some kind of acknowledgement of what I was thinking and feeling and the questions I was asking, and I needed that. But then looking back in hindsight, it's that can be quite dangerous, and we must be mindful about that. And my video today is a little bit of a warning that we can get into a slippery slope, and it's like let's say if you watch the news and there's a story going on, and the news is bad news, isn't it? Because bad news sells newspapers, sells stories. Good news is very much, maybe even less than 2% of all news is actual good news. So we take away that bad news, and then we might go onto social media to try and find out more about this bad news that we've just heard on the news. And again, that is almost, you've hit that algorithm again, and you start scrolling through and trying to find out more, and you might be thinking, well, I'm just researching, but it's having probably a detrimental effect on your mental health. And if it's affecting your mental health, it's going to affect your physical health, and that's not a good thing. So the main message of this video today is really about how dangerous it can be, and to be mindful about what we're doing and where we're going for information, and what information are we actually accumulating, and where that's going to go with us. And is it actually helping us, or is it having the opposite, effect? Be mindful about it, because when you're vulnerable, that's when you probably aren't going to realize so much that that's what you're doing, because you're not really in a place to analyze yourself and check in yourself. So it's just an experience I had, and I just wanted to share it with you. If you find that you're in that position where you're trying to sort of almost like fix something that's broken, social media, we need to be careful about what it's giving us and be mindful about doom scrolling and where that might take you, usually down a slippery slope. So just be careful and mindful about that, and look after yourself, look after your mental health, try and do everything you can do to, eat healthily, get some physical exercise, and do the things that give you joy and feed your soul. Is all things that we a lot of us have some control over. So let's try and do that and stay well and stay healthy, and that way we are better equipped in carrying what it is that we're carrying. So move forward with, not on from, is really what I'm getting at there. Okay. Thank you so much for listening. It means so much. I'll see you in the next video.